everyone. Welcome back to our second speaker of tonight, Benny from Beringa, talking about building data products that work. Up you go, Benny.
Hello. Hi everyone. Today I'll be talking us through building data products that work. Trying to go through sort of like some decisions, implementation challenges, as well as the wins from a recent implementation we've done of data products a client for us. So a lot of you have probably heard of data products, but we're not going to get into that just yet. I'd just like to give a quick introduction of myself. I am Bennett Elekwa. I'm a manager at Beringa's data and AI practice. And basically, I've been privileged to be part of a range of data solutions across both greenfield and brownfield projects, building enterprise-scale data solutions that help drive efficiency as well as decision-making. More recently, what I'm going to be talking to you about today is our implementation of data products at a large insurer, and it's been an exciting project, and I hope, hopefully, as I go through it, you're able to learn something from that. So before we go into the details, I just want to give a quick refresher on, I'm sure we're all sort of data engineers, data professionals here. You've heard about data mesh, heard about data products. But I just want to give a quick refresher of what it's all about. What is a data product? A data product is a live, fully governed, reusable data asset. So I'm not just using big words to impress you here, although I'm doing a bit of that. But actually, that really embodies what a product is. So if you think of any product that you actually use in your personal life, you know where to get it. When you get that product, or the first time you ever got it, you knew how to use it. There was an instruction on the product that basically showed you how to use it. If anything happened, you knew who to call. If anything was wrong, there was a team that managed that product that you could call up and say, something's wrong, I need this resolved. And so that's what we're trying to do here with data products. It's basically bringing those features into how we develop data assets as data engineers or data professionals. And so a data set is not a data product if it doesn't have these characteristics. If it's not discoverable, if it's not trustworthy, if it's not interoperable, then it's not a data product. It's just a data set that you've basically created for a single use case. And so a data product is actually an innovative way of getting teams to collaborate and build data products that can be reused to extract value from the business. And take note of this, value, because that's really what this is all about, is ensuring that this ties back to an outcome for the business. And so why does this even matter? Why are we talking about data products? So to answer this, I'd like to take us back to a bit of a timeline, the genesis of when, basically not the exact genesis, but when we can trace back to when we started to sort of care about data. And so that's the relational database era. So when the relational database was invented, data was mostly treated as a byproduct of processes. You know, businesses wanted to be able to store this data and basically ensure that when an update is made in operational processes, that's reflected in everywhere that is meant to be relevant for this data. And beyond this, this time, we moved into the enterprise data warehouse era, where businesses started to care a bit more about data. So they wanted to have historical analysis, they wanted to see the trends that happened in the past. And so that time was a bit more of a care about data, get that data centralized, and really sort of report around past analysis. Beyond this moment, we moved into the big data and cloud adoption era, where sort of data took on different formats. You heard our first speaker today talking about basically the social media and the internet. That led to different formats, bigger data. And so what businesses really cared about here was cheaper storage and just faster analytics, you know, being able to store these different formats and get insights still at a fairly regular pace. And then fast forward to today, data powers everything, you know, from our phones to our watches to basically everywhere. Even with edge computing now, data is just everywhere. And so what businesses want from data today is totally different from what they wanted during the relational database era. Today they want trust in that data, they want to know that the data is trustworthy. They want to move fast, they want agility, you know, they want to be agile to make decisions quite quickly and get to value quickly. You know, nobody wants to wait till a year before they get to value, they want to get to value as soon as possible. And so that is really what these outcomes are what has really driven this data products approach. And so when is it time to consider data products? When you're experiencing any of these as a business, particularly a large business, then it's time to consider data products. So if you're basically seeing slow decisions, wasted effort, manual reporting, and basically a lack of trust in the level of trust you assign to the data assets you have, then it's time to really consider implementing data products. Now, if you're a smaller organization, you could get away with not really implementing this for quite a while, just because you're a bit more nimble. You could make 1 or 2 changes, and that could sort of bring back some good benefits. But there's no harm in setting yourself up for success by implementing something like a data product approach. And so, taking a closer look at what this looks like when it's been implemented, it basically forms a network, really, of data assets. So, I don't know how many of us are familiar with the medallion architecture, data lake house, or all of that. In this diagram here, the consumer-aligned products would be your gold layer of products. It would be your gold layer of data assets. And the source-aligned products, that would be your bronze layer, basically. And so how this differs from that architecture is each data asset needs to be self-contained. Each data asset needs to have all of these characteristics. It needs to be well understood. It needs to basically not be so tightly coupled to one use case. It needs to be able to be loosely coupled to be used for every use case that it's relevant for. And that's what sort of really extracts the power from the data product approach. And so, looking at this from a process perspective, it's really bringing that product lifecycle, product development lifecycle sort of philosophy into the development of data assets. So you go out there, you look for your use cases, you prioritize these use cases, and then you prototype. Once you prototype and agree with your customers, you start building. And once you're done building, the key thing here is to make sure that you're communicating with the users what you're giving them. What this product, what this data asset you're giving them, they're able to do with that. And once this has been published, you need to ensure that you're monitoring the data product, you're monitoring that asset constantly to see if there's any improvements and then, or any features you need to add that, and then you take it through this life cycle all over again. And so looking at an implementation of this, going into a bit more detail around the use case of how we've implemented this in real life. We basically engaged an organization which wanted a strategy. They were facing a lot of issues around data accessibility, data quality was low, and they really wanted a strategy. They wanted to set what it would look like in the future for them to be able to be quick to respond to their customers, to also have that brand out there. They have their brand, they want to ensure that customer loyalty is still being promoted. And so some of the things they set out for themselves is ensuring that data is acquired once and reused as much as possible. They wanted to ensure that there was a lot of trust in the data that is being built, or any product, any data asset that was shared across the organization. They wanted to ensure that business value was at the center of every project or every data project that is being taken. They could map that project back to what business value they are aiming for. And so to really achieve this, like all great things, we had to start with the people. And this is where this comes in. We had to start with the people. And so we did an analysis in the organization, and we found out that the teams were localized at the same time, but they were at different levels of data maturity. Every business function understood data to a different extent. And so it was all about bringing all of these functions to the same level of understanding and the same level of data maturity. And so instead of going for a fully decentralized approach or fully centralized approach, we went for a hybrid option. So having a hub, a central hub that really governs the spokes. And the spokes in this essence is the business functions. So this hub empowers the spokes and basically drives their knowledge and their data maturity and helps them build those consumer-aligned products. But the hub also provides the source-aligned products as well as the domain-aligned products to help these hubs, to help the spokes function properly. Also, there's a bit of an enabler here with IT, providing basically security and access to source data. And so the hub really sat as that bridge between IT and the business, and making sure that value is being extracted from every data product or data asset that's being built. And so looking at a use case here, once we had the people down, we had the process down, it was time to test this out, see if it works in real life. And so we went after the claims domain as a domain to test this out with. So an initially we went to the business and asked across the business who's using claims data, what are the high priority projects that are being executed with claims data, and how can we sort of prioritize this and put this at the top of our list as we develop. And so once those had been prioritized and some prototypes had been drawn up, it was time to start to build. The first step was to set up the platform, and so to come to this decision, we had to look across the organization again. And you notice every time I'm talking about this, there's a tie-in to look at back at the organization and see what's around you, understand what's around you, understand basically how to make decisions that could help the business with where they are, not where they should be, for example. And so we looked at the business and we saw there was a lot of Azure skills around the business, and basically there was a lot of buying into the Microsoft ecosystem already. And so we opted for Azure as the platform to go to. And so we built like the data platform on Azure Synapse Analytics, and we chose Azure DevOps as the automation and project management tool of choice. And we went with Power BI for reporting and data quality monitoring, as well as Colibra. There was also quite a lot of skill in the organization around Colibra, so Colibra was chosen as the data marketplace. And so to start building this claims data product, we engaged with IT to give us access to the multiple sources that contain claims data. And this is where the hub really comes in. The hub becomes the engine that drives these projects. Once they've engaged with the business, they engage with IT to get this data. And then a source-aligned team, a team in the hub, basically builds the source-aligned products, like you can see here. The source-aligned products were built by a team in the hub. And then another team in the hub also built the domain-aligned products. And these two teams work together to basically empower the business functions with the right data that they need to build the consumer-aligned products. So for this case, the consumer-aligned products were the claims analysis data assets, and then there was a machine learning model that was built in terms of like a credit hire machine learning model. One key thing to notice here is when the domain-aligned products are built, you could see that interoperability being evidenced with those products interacting with multiple other domains. So you can see the claims products, that's showing how the products basically can be linked to the customer domain, can be linked to the policy domain, can be linked to other domains. Really empowers the users to go out there and build products that combine all of these domains together. And which something I'm really going to go into in a bit more detail is the data marketplace, because that's what powers this whole approach, this data product approach, is ensuring that the user has the data at their fingertips and they're able to basically understand it immediately. Regardless of their level of data maturity, they're able to understand and do something with it immediately. And so looking a bit into the data marketplace, looking at the data marketplace, we can see some of the key things that we want to evidence here. We want to ensure that these characteristics, these big words I called earlier, discoverable. People are able to understand it. So you basically, if there's a way of finding data previously that people are used to, and you look across the organization, they're used to that sort of paradigm, you basically want to try to embody that in the marketplace. So people don't like change too much. You want to ensure that they're able to sort of seamlessly integrate and into any new system you're giving to them, and they're able to become effective in it. And so we try to embody these things as like requesting access, so you can just request access, set your data product, and you request access to it. Once you get that access, you start to see details around what that product is, the data model, you see attributes. If there's any issues with that product, you see that trust being developed here. You can see if there's any issues, you see what issues are there and how they're being resolved. And also, there's also this thing, I don't know if anyone's got a toothpaste that says dentist certified toothpaste or something like that. So this is basically that kind of thing. It's trying to show that this product is certified by the hub. And you can have certified data products and uncertified data products. And then it's the user's choice to choose which one to use. But basically, this certification says that the hub and the central governance team has basically taken this product through its own assurance processes and it's checked this product across like very, very key reports across the organization, and the product passes that test. And this gives the user that trust. It demonstrates that trust in the user to say, oh, okay, if all the vital reports across the organization is using this, then I think this would be the product for me to use. And so you could also raise an issue. If the user has an issue, they could raise an issue. Another level of this, taking this beyond just searching and seeing and understanding the product, you could provide extra, and something we're working towards, you could provide extra functionality to allow the users to drag and drop and interact with this, allow this product to interact in the UI. You know, not just being able to, because some people don't have, in some teams they don't have technical skills. They just want to be able to make business decisions or join certain data. So providing this ability for them to just drag and drop and join certain data products together would basically power this and take this to another level of self-service. And so just to wrap up a little bit, looking at some of the key decisions, the challenges we went through during our implementation. I already talked about centralized versus decentralized data team. We opted for hybrid approach just because it made sense. And also, we wanted to ensure that we were creating T-shaped developers. So we didn't want developers to just be understanding one domain and not really efficient in other domains. The hub really provided an opportunity for developers to have this T-shape where they have a deep understanding of one domain, but still very efficient across domains, because they interact with this data and they see this sort of work happening across the entire hub. And in terms of data literacy, we opted for active enablement instead of passive, just because we wanted to ensure that we were taking the spokes along that journey. The hub played an active role in taking the spokes along that journey. So we embedded analytics champions in the business teams, people that would sort of like drive and ensure that people were taking training and people were basically improving their data maturity and data literacy. And in terms of tooling, I've already discussed that, so I'll just skip that for now. Implementation challenges. A key one to drag out here is business stakeholder buy-in. People are not used to change, like I said, and when when someone has a priority, when the business functions have priorities, they want to sort of like stick to those priorities. So what we did here was ensuring that we align to the business functions priorities. So whatever we're developing, whatever data assets we're developing, we ensure that those were basically aligned to what was most important to them at that moment. And so that's how we're able to get business buy-in. Levels of maturity, I've talked about that already. Resistance to culture of change. Another thing that helps the resistance to culture of change is incremental rollout. So not allowing people time to sort of like digest whatever you've put out. So put out in small bits and allowing them time to really digest that product or that asset you've put out. And we faced some challenges around undocumented source systems, and that was a bit of a big challenge. But how we got around it was ensuring that anytime a discovery activity was done, there was a culture of documentation across the team. People don't like it, but once they get into the habit of it, it makes everyone's life easier. And so looking at some wins that we've basically gotten from this implementation, we saw a 50% reduction in the time it takes to fulfill a data request. We've seen a massive reduction in ad hoc requests. So ad hoc requests are the bane of a data engineer's existence, and using that self-serve platform was a real big win for the organization, because it meant that time and space was freed up to really tackle things that were sort of like future innovative projects. And we were able to sort of like get basically multiple sources into a single data product or data assets, getting all of that consolidated. So a single view of the customer, a single view of claims across the organization. That was really key, because it's something the organization was struggling with. And also instant insights into the quality of data. So having those data quality reports allowed the business to really understand what were the key issues with their source systems and really go and attack those issues immediately. And so just a quick recap, some things to really note here is that you really want to ensure you're communicating the vision. If you want to undertake something like this, you really want to set that vision and ensure that it's communicated to all the people that really matter, down to the lower levels, because everyone that's going to be involved in this needs to buy in. Also, you don't want to underestimate the management of the hubs, of the hub. You know, that hub, that central hub, you want to ensure that everyone knows their role. Particularly the role of the product owner is going to be very key. The data product owner, that role is very key in driving and sort of like bridging that business as well as the technical bit. So you want to ensure that your team is really sort of like clear on the responsibilities and they're able to really drive that connect between business as well as the technical part. And the key part I talked about is the data marketplace. Do not underestimate basically the ability of this to drive adoption. You want it to be as easy as possible, possibly 10x easier than how people used to get their data before. And so what we did here was actually we designed, when we got the Colibra, we didn't use the out-of-the-box solution. We redesigned it to be able to sort of like create those moments that make it easier for the user to find what they're looking for. And also think about usage, not users. Don't only look at, oh, I've got 5,000 users across the organization, 2,000 users, oh, I've got 100 users across the organization using this product. You want to look at what they're using it for, and because that's what would help you evolve the product and make it better. You want to see what these use cases are and how you can sort of like improve on them. And so to wrap up, I'm just going to give you a nice checklist here. In case you want to implement something like this, this is something you can take with you. Feel free to take a picture or basically let me know if you need the slides later on. I'm happy to share. So when you're implementing this is something you could just check off to make yourself feel nice and know that you're actually heading in the right direction. With that said, thank you for listening. We've got more information here, this QR code about Baringa's data and AI practice. And if you're looking for, you enjoyed this talk and you want to be part of a project like this, feel free to scan that QR code. We've got opportunities in data and AI and software as well. Thank you.
Any questions?
Hi, thanks for a very insightful presentation. So the data product, the data marketplace is a really good idea, but you can have internal and external consumer of your data product. You can have different interfaces to your data product. So how do you go about the security of the data? For example, PII or confidential information. So what do you recommend to? How do you recommend to implement those rules within the data product itself?
That's a great question. I think every use case is dependent. So if you have an external user and you want to share information about that to your external user, so it depends on what decisions you guys have made locally and how the platform has been designed. But if you want to get access, there's things like sharing a URL. So you have like data sharing, you share a URL, that user basically provide access to that particular user alone, and then it shuts off all other users. That's an option you could explore. Or you create a dedicated platform or like a part of your marketplace that only those users, those external users have access to, and they will be able to access that with whatever sign-in or credentials you've given them. So there's multiple ways to look at it. If you don't want to actually have a full platform where external users can consume the data, you could just basically give them access on some like SAS link or something like that, basically, and they can access the data.
Anyone else? Oh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your talk. Okay, I noticed at the beginning of your talk, you look at the evolutionary transition of data history from relational systems. You mentioned non-relational systems, which can be vector stored these days. Now, what was missing was the concept of data lakes. How do you account for that? I do understand that you mentioned data warehouses, which is basically a collection of relational systems in a central repository. But you just missed out at one point on the data lakes, which included the metadata and non-relational systems.
Yeah, I think I glossed over that at the big cloud adoption era, because that's when data took up different formats, and that's where the data lake came into play. People wanted to store all these different formats in cheap storage, and so that's where the data lake came into play. I just missed that off because of time, so thanks for the reminder.
I've heard the term ratification or ratified data sources uses that, especially I think by official organizations. Is that like a common thing in the industry? If so, was that implemented?
So ratified?
Yeah, ratified. Perhaps it's a bit of a localized balance.
Yeah, I've not heard that term.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Not applicable in this case. Okay.
Hi, thank you for the presentation, really insightful. So currently I'm actually, in my team we're using Calibra, and it is a massive pain, I'm going to say. Yeah, it's something that I'm still waiting what's going to deliver. I think your presentation has really been helpful understanding data products. I feel like in my team we haven't put what's for, it's just shut down our throat. But one big issue is that it's very manual. So my main question is, so for instance, your use case, what was that time span like? Like how long was it? How short was it? How did you justify it? And are there any opportunities to actually automate the whole data product implementation process? Because it's quite manual and it makes it feel less agile, to work as an engineer.
Yeah, we had a lot of those challenges, to be honest. I think I for the sake of time, I sort of left those out. A lot of those challenges were because Calibra itself, the out-of-the-box solution it doesn't have a lot, So you have to get plugins, marketplace plugins. You have to get a few other things. You need to basically customize it to your own use. And so I think that's a lot of what we had to do. Is basically there was the initial manual process of like taking Excel files and like doing all of that and then loading that in. And we thought that was too much, We need to find a custom solution here. And so the team responsible for that were sort of exploring other opportunities around how this would basically just be connected immediately to your tables and all of that, and basically all of that metadata we pulled in from the database. And basically just all of that, I think that's what you need to recommend to your team in place is to use these plugins, use them, get the marketplace plugins, and customize the system for your own use, automate it a bit more. And that's what we're doing anyways.
I think one more question.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. That was fascinating and really resonated in me as I've been working for a while on similar transformations. You've mentioned challenges regarding data ownership and product ownership. I found that really challenging as well, and wonder how you went about that.
How we've been able to, it was a challenge as well for us. I think there was the issue of having domain managers and also having product managers and product owners. And I think what we've done in our own implementation is basically make the domain managers play that double role. They manage the domains, set the roadmap for the domains, and they also set the roadmap for the product. But the product comes first. You don't want to develop a domain product that doesn't tie into a larger product in terms of like the larger vision of the organization. And so the domain manager really starts from the product, being the product owner, and then moves into being the domain manager after that product vision has been sort of like set. So and that's what we've basically been using, and that's how we've evolved it to work for us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more? Okay, well, thank you, Penny, for your presentation.